Wasabi wallet. Unfairly private.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another excellent edition of Why Are We Bullish? And I don't know if you're new here, but despite all of the FUD, we're always bullish as fuck on this show. It's very exciting. I've got a killer panel here today full of diamond hands. Nobody has lost a single sat through all of this, and this is the important number to keep in mind here, friends. As always, this is live. Anything can happen. So a quick disclaimer from my friend Bill.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
So again, thank you for joining me. There's like 130 people here already watching live. We've barely just begun. As always, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Now, before we bring in our guest, let's take a quick look at where we are in the market. Try not to flinch too much, guys. All right, we're sitting at $36,424 per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 2,745 sats. That's on sale, my friends. 89.12% of all Bitcoin have been mined. And in terms of fees, a little busy. 133 sats per byte will get you to the next block. Even if you wait an hour, 94 sats per byte. So it's still a little high. Maybe wait till Sunday if you've got some pressing transactions that can put off a little bit. Of course, shout out, actually, before we do this, I just wanted to point out the heat map here. And, the only thing really that matters is the Bitcoin that you're stacking. If you're sitting in shitcoins, I know that the bull market can be tough because everybody that's sitting in shitcoins feels like they're getting rich. And if you're new, you may be thinking like, should I not? Just know that whenever Bitcoin dumps, everything else dumps harder. And when you get into a bear market situation, you end up losing most of your Bitcoin if you're sitting in altcoins. So take that for what it is. Anyways, shout out to sponsors of the show, LEDN.io, where you can use your Bitcoin for a variety of different services. I tend to use them in instances where I need to get my hands on dollars, but don't want to sell my Bitcoin because that's a taxable event and buy back in at a higher price so I can deposit Bitcoin, get dollars to my bank account. When I pay those back, I get back the same amount of sats. That's the important number. Of course, they've got Bitcoin and USDC savings accounts and their B2X offering that buys you more Bitcoin with the same loan mechanism. Check them out. Links are down below. Up next, Bitrefill. I do live on Bitcoin. One of the things that helps me do this is this website where you can pretty much get any damn gift card that you need in any country that you may be located in. You can pay with Bitcoin via main chain and Lightning Network, and you do earn sats back as you shop. So check them out. And finally, if you're backing up a wallet, maybe paper is not the best option because it opens you up to things like water damage, fire damage, or just somebody throwing the damn thing out because they aren't familiar with what they're holding. So if you back it up in something like solid steel on the BillFodl, it can give you that peace of mind. Be sure to go check it out over at privacypros.io. And with that, I'm going to drop this out and let's start bringing in our panel. We've got an all-star lineup today. I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to let them all introduce themselves. Let's pop to Dylan first. Dylan, dude, can you let everybody know who you are and what you do?
What's up, guys? I'm Dylan LeClair. I work for Bitcoin Magazine. Under this guy down below me. What's up, boss? I cover financial markets. I'm doing some on-chain stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you've got some killer threads on everything that's been going on lately. Maybe we'll touch on that momentarily. Next down the line, Sean, welcome. First time on the show. Let everybody know who you are if they're not familiar already.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Sean. I am the guy that kind of broke news a couple of weeks ago about converting my whole entire salary into Bitcoin. This is going to be my 5th year in the NFL. I play tight end, and I have a pretty good background in finance and economics just through my schooling and just my passion, right? And I'm excited to kind of find the overlap of everything and put it all into Bitcoin. And I'm here to talk about it.
I love it, man. Well, I'm excited. Let's keep on going. Next down the line, we've got Mr. Bitcoin Magazine here. David, can you enlighten people on who you are?
Yeah, David Bailey, CEO, BTC Inc. We own Bitcoin Magazine. We have a Bitcoin fund called UTXO. And we have the one and only Bitcoin conference happening in June in 2 weeks, 13 days to be exact. So Bitcoin all day, every day, 365, 24/7.
I love it, man.
Let's go.
The living embodiment. And then Katie, can you let everybody know who you are? Again, first time on the show for you. So welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie the Russian, and I sell passports.
I like that. Let's just leave it at that. That's fantastic. So everybody, this is Why Are We Bullish? If this is your first time watching the show, basically each of us comes with a topic that we are excited about this week. We give a reason why we're bullish. Cumulatively amongst all of us, we riff on that topic, and then we rotate to the next person. So we do the 3 R's. So I'm going to get us started on my topic for being bullish this week. And I've kind of had these contrarian reasons as of late, but I'm going to I got to bring something up on the screen just to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about here. My reason for being bullish is the poor quality FUD that we're getting lately. It's just atrocious. This is the umpteenth time that China has banned Bitcoin. And what's astounding to me is how much people still take this into account and actually worry about it. I think just because of the influx of newcomers. But the thing is, if you are the largest authoritarian regime on the planet and you've been, quote unquote, banning Bitcoin for years and years to no effect, and you keep on having to say it, I don't think that's really priced in. So yeah, there's just been really poor quality FUD. Like this China thing is ridiculous. Again, the fossil fuel FUD that we've been seeing, Elon kind of stirring that up, but the bad people are using it. FUD, apparently Iran using mining to lessen impact of sanctions, which by the way, that is a feature, not a bug. And we even got some FUD from the Pope around the all of the fossil fuel stuff. Although I loved Lolly's response where they just outlined everything to make it say buy Bitcoin. But in I guess to sum it all up, I feel like all of the FUDsters are going through all of the topics so quickly. What are they going to go with next? Like, are they going to run out? So I'm going to pass it down the line here. Dylan, like, how are you taking this FUD? Like, you weren't around for the last bull run. Is that correct?
Correct.
So how are you seeing this kind of FUD? I mean, you're in a unique position here, but
yeah.
Let me know.
I mean, it's nothing that, I imagine everybody here hasn't debunked or worked through personally. So it doesn't worry me one bit. I've been trying to coach my friends and family through it. Government's not banning Bitcoin, or the energy FUD that Elon threw out. I think the climate change FUD is just starting, to be honest. Bitcoin wakes energy, understanding proof of work and what that means. And conversely, the petrodollar, all that stuff, it's so much easier. I forget what it's called, something's law, it starts with a B. It's harder to refute bullshit than it is to just spew it. And so I think, it's just starting up, but ultimately Bitcoin doesn't care. There's people around the world that are realizing Bitcoin's freedom money, and more people are doing that every day. So total nothing burger, but I'm happy I think it's taking the price. Maybe it's just, coincidence.
Yeah, cheap sats out of this, right? I guess. Sean, how about you? How have you been able to navigate through this FUD in a matrix style kind of dodging way?
Yeah. Well, first, I've handled it by doubling my position size in the last week, to be honest. I think, the timing has been, with me in my announcement a couple of weeks ago, and then a couple of weeks later, it just repeated FUD, right? Just like one after another. And people have came up to me and questioned and asked like where, my viewpoint lies. And I'm like, I would question, the conviction that I had to place 100% of my salary. And if I was compelled to sell because of a short-term sell-off, right? Like, this is new for me, but not new for Bitcoin, as we all say. And through my journey, just as an athlete, I've developed an iron stomach and the ability to attach my emotions, to be honest. And I think that's an important trait to being an investor. I couldn't imagine selling right now because of short-term volatility when my investment time horizon is over a decade. And I think my conviction is unchanged because of my low time preference. I think people today, especially younger generations, they want instant satisfaction. And I'm willing to sacrifice short-term gratification for long-term preservation of my wealth. And I believe doing so is being long an underlying asset that continues to disprove negative claims time and time again.
Yeah, it's again, the market is trying to price in all of these FUD pieces being reality. They haven't priced in the fact that all of them have already been refuted multiple times before. Yeah. David, what do you think was like the worst piece that we've seen, like the most ridiculous piece that we've seen as of late? And did you see any good like responses, or is it even worse responding?
I'd say that probably that Pope tweet is probably the worst one I've seen. That's pretty hilarious. I mean, coming from all people, but I'm still can't get over the fact that $30,000 Bitcoin prices is considering a Bitcoin crash. It's like, we were just popping champagne like 100 days ago when we broke 30K. Like, it's just, that's 50% higher than the last all-time high. So anyway, it's funny how quickly the goalposts move. I also think on the FUD side, like, each of these, like each bubble, we have to take on new narratives, and each narrative that Bitcoin has to beat is like a boss battle for us to like level up through, basically the hyper Bitcoinization path. And so, we're going to have to battle with the climate change crowd for a while, but like eventually as number keep going up and all people are sucked into Bitcoin, we will defeat that narrative. And that's like that's not the ultimate boss battle narrative. Like we have several hurdles above the fossil fuel use issue that we're gonna have to tackle. But yeah, I feel like people are in search of a reason why the price crashed, and they want to apply a headline that's recent to that being the catalyst, when I don't think that that's necessarily true. So I'm very excited for when Bitcoin prices go up and it kind of smashes the perception that people like Elon's opinion matters.
100%. Yeah, it's Bitcoin is pricing in shit takes from influential people. That's all it's doing right now. Katie, what have you been getting messages from friends and family say like, is something happening? Should we sell? Like, do you get those worried messages anymore, or have you dispelled that enough times?
My mom this morning called me. I was like, Katie, how do I back up my wallet? I just created a mobile one. And she's super excited to buy more Bitcoin. So I'm getting like the happy kind of messages. And I see this kind of FUD as like, I'm not sure I'm going to say it right, but like meat ground machine, as we call it in Russian, is like, we don't need those people who can't go through FUD like this. Like every bull market FUD just keeps grinding people, and the ones that survive, they're sticking with us through the bear market, stacking sats, and then, happily walk into the next bull market. And nothing new happening. Like, all of us know all the things that are imperfect in Bitcoin that we might like address and try to get better, much better than all those FUDsters. And everything they're saying being already addressed in the previous bull market and way before, when I was not into Bitcoin. So like, it's even boring. I do not interact with any of that. I might read and laugh once in a while, but I'm not paying much attention, honestly.
Yeah, I think I kind of came to this conclusion similarly earlier this week when I was sitting there middle of the night, and and I'd been back and forth with somebody on Twitter for like an hour, and I'm like actively angry as I'm doing this, and I came across it, and I was like, what am I doing to myself? This person is not going to agree with me. I'm not going to change their mind. They're not going to change mine. I need to just, and so I think, taking a page from Matt Odell, I'm just going to enter Bitcoin Zen mode and just let everything play out as it's going to. And I think more people should just do that. This is kind of my opinion.
To be fair, the path to diamond hands starts with paper hands. And so, like all of these people that are scared and jumping out, they're going to buy back in. Once we get to a new all-time high, they're all going to be like, oh shit, I dumped and I missed out on this. Now I got to get back in. I have half as many Bitcoins. And so we need to pour one out for those people. And like, they're on a painful intellectual journey right now where it's going to take them at least the full cycle to learn, like, you don't buy the tops and sell the bottoms. Like that's, so, I mean,
it's true.
We've all been there before. Like, it's like, this is the process by which you become a hardened warrior. Like, you have to like go to warfare and like cry and shit your pants and run away from the front lines like a few times before you're like, hardened soldier ready to like, fight it out on the field.
Yeah, that first cycle, that's first probably 4 years, like halving cycle in Bitcoin is like the price of tuition, because you're going to make so many mistakes, but you come out the other end of that and you kind of start to get what's going on at that point. It may not be perfect, but you're far better off than you were previous.
Your conviction comes from being there before. Like, being there before is what gives you the strength to hodl and be defiant in the face of all this negative news. So, I mean, it's, we're creating a new class.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I as much as I enjoy the FUD chat, I think it's time to move on from that. We need less FUD in all our lives. As always, again, there's 300 people watching live. Smash that like button, give this a share, and we're gonna move on to our next reason for being bullish. I'm gonna pass it to Dylan. Dude, what has you bullish this week? What are you excited about? Enlighten us.
I mean, it's kind of similar to the FUD talk. I'm just pretty bullish that like the market got wrecked, leverage got, derivative markets got absolutely wrecked. That was kind of the reason for the crash. I posted a thread about it earlier in the week, but it really was just, traders kept levering up on these exchanges for the last month or two. And as the price started to dip a little bit, instead of getting out, they doubled down, and it was like triple down, quadruple down. And some opportunistic whales saw that and decided to just basically unload until they all capitulated. And there was billions, I think 3 or 4 billion in liquidations within a couple of hours on Wednesday. And so that's why the price, it's kind of like March 12th of last year. It's kind of why like the price just nuked like it did. So yeah, I mean, it was really all just leverage, all weak hands, all speculators, and the convicted remain. So that's what has me bullish, because nothing's changed. The macro outlook is still better than ever, or worse than ever, depending on how you want to think about it. Central banks are still going to be printing hundreds of billions of dollars a month. There's like nothing's changed except we're stacking at a 50% discount. So that's why I'm bullish.
I love it. And Sean, you just said you basically doubled your position size through this opportunity. Like, are you? So, I mean, maybe tell people a little bit about how you're converting your salary, because some people watching may not be familiar with the method that you used to do that, and maybe talk a little bit about how you look at these dips.
Yeah, I mean, the dips are buying opportunities for sure. I think it's all emotionally driven. I think you're having influencers on Twitter having huge, impacts on the price movement right now. And again, the investment thesis is intact. All the reasons why I wanted to buy Bitcoin, all the catalysts there for future appreciation remain. And man, I appreciate the discounted sats. And for me, I'm working with Jack Mallers at Strike, and basically they're just instantaneously converting. Basically, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging Bitcoin. And that's one thing I think is important to note. Like, some people think, at least in my circumstance with my situation with the NFL, my contracts, it's something that you get paid weekly, right? So people are like, man, I missed the Bitcoin train. It's too expensive. They were saying that when it was, I think, 50 or 55. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, my level of skin in the game is, and by making this as an announcement, is to show, hey, I'm agreeing to buy at whatever price Bitcoin is through, I think it is like half of 2022. Okay. Because I see this. And I said earlier, decade out. I meant decade out as in my thesis for on a macro standpoint and how I see the current environment right now and politically, and just stimulus through fiscal and monetary, just what's needed like right now. Like for sure, I see that being unchanged for the next decade. And for me though, like Bitcoin is generational. Like I need to make that clear. I don't ever plan on selling. I've never sold. I have zero plans to ever sell. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that people are starting to take that standpoint. Again, I really like the stance of somebody like Greg Foss, where he looks at movements like this and he says, in the grand scheme of things, these, whether it's 30K or 50K or 100K, eventually all of that is just no more than a rounding error. And I think that's a great way to look at it, because as to your generational point, you have a very unique opportunity here to build wealth and preserve your human capital, not just for yourself, but for your children and their children and generations to come. If Bitcoin succeeds and becomes this global base layer of value for everyone, think of the incredible things that can come of that, and the freeing up of human time by being able to, exchange their goods, time, services, whatever, for a money that will not debase, and the amount of misallocation of capital that will be prevented by that. I think it's incredible. But maybe I'll toss it to David and see if he wants to tag into anything that Sean said there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of buying Bitcoin and the price being irrelevant, I mean, I bought my first Bitcoins around $10, and I almost didn't buy because I thought it was too expensive. And if you tell someone that you bought it at $6 or if you bought it at $12, it sounds like the same price to them, even though it's it's the same percentage. Likewise, you tell someone $900 or $450 at this point, like people kind of hear that as the same number. So I really think it won't even be that long before 60,000 and 30,000 basically sounds like the same number, probably just one cycle. Yeah, and then in terms of like the what actually caused the price to move versus the narrative says, there are a lot of whales that are under the surface that are always looking at order books and always trying to figure out how to maximize for their gains. And so, yeah, I mean, Dylan's right. A lot of this was related to leverage. There were some pretty large options that were put options that were bought that kind of left some of the market makers exposed. And so as the price started going down, it gamma squeezed the market makers. So this was definitely an engineered price action, which worked pretty effectively. I will say that it also sets us up for a mega run because not only has it cleared out a lot of the people that would be selling as the price went up, and not only did it kind of set us up for a lot of dry powder for people to reopen leverage positions, but because of how badly the price went down, it actually induced a pretty significant amount of collateral to be put onto the platforms in order to keep from being liquidated. So that means that there's even more capital, like more equity available to people to lever with than there was before the margin calls came. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that Bitcoin always takes the path of maximum pain. And I saw a tweet the other day that was like, maximum pain is actually Bitcoin at $85,000 right now. Like that's the maximum pain, because everyone who just fucking sold is going to be FOMOing so hard once the noise is just kind of sliced through and the price is up, and they're seeking a narrative for why. Like, why did none of this stuff matter? Why did I jump out? Why is the price going up? And there isn't an answer other than that the FUD you bought into was bullshit. So, I challenge people to always like take the most cynical view, and what you're hearing in the news is not the real reason stuff is happening typically.
Katie, you don't fuck around with leverage, do you?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. But I'm getting paid in Bitcoin, which means to live my life, I have to sell it. And this month, I'm like, I'm fucking canceling shopping. I'm not doing anything. So it's like low time preference all the way around. And I feel like, buying extra Bitcoin is always like, that's what people do. They're like, I have no fiat in my bank account because I just keep buying Bitcoin. But then when you're getting paid in Bitcoin, you just can't sell it. It's like, soul killing. So for me, this dump is like, okay, you're just not doing shopping this month, girl.
Yeah, but I mean, I bet you're hoping that some invoices are coming in during this dip.
Oof, I'm always celebrating that one for sure.
I again, hearing that you live on Bitcoin, I feel like we're now kindred spirits, because I feel you on the you basically kind of tailor your life on where Bitcoin's currently at, and like through bear markets, you're more likely to stack like crazy, and as bull markets come around, you start thinking of, okay, how can I meaningfully improve my life over the course of this next cycle, like within reason. So I definitely am on Bitcoin time. I don't know about you. What about you?
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to maximize my fiat incomings too. So that would be definitely helpful. But everything that comes in Bitcoin, I'm like, this is the way for sure.
I will just stop there for those that are constantly like bringing in a flow of Bitcoin that has different cost bases. For those that pay taxes, which I'm sure most of your listeners are not on the tax train, I don't blame them. But for those of you that do pay taxes, there's a nifty little trick that you can do that's totally legal, where you can actually take Bitcoin that you bought at a high cost basis, and at this lower price, you can actually go from Bitcoin to wrapped Bitcoin or any sort of derivative of Bitcoin, and the IRS sees that as a crypto to crypto taxable event, and you can actually harvest tax losses so that your cost basis is the new cost basis. And so then when the price goes back up, you can wash out your capital gains with your capital losses. So little tax trick that can save you some money, keep the IRS from getting paid.
Damn.
Well, Dave, can't you just do that anyway, just with the Bitcoin? I don't know. I'm asking, like, because there is no wash sale, right? It's different than other securities. So it's like, if you are down, can't through tax loss harvesting just sell, realize the loss, immediately buy it back, and write those off from future realized gains, if that would be the case? Or
so there is like some wash trading rules that the IRS does, that you have to when you sell an asset, you have to not buy it back for 30 days. So if you buy it back, they nullify the cost basis that you sold at. And
right.
So you have to go to a completely different asset, and they consider wrapped Bitcoin a completely different asset than Bitcoin, even if it has one parity.
Yeah.
Do you know if they consider
that applied to crypto or not? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Do they consider something like liquid Bitcoin a completely different asset?
I'm probably, and I've been trying to get a status on what the taxable event is for a Lightning transaction, and like if opening a payment channel, even if you don't transfer it to another party, is also a potential taxable event. I haven't been able to get clarity on that, but I do know that Bitcoin or wrapped Bitcoin is a tactic. It does work, and the IRS sees it as legit. So it's like, okay.
When you file IRS, just tell them that you sold your Bitcoin for sats, and it will take them like 30 years to figure that out. Not a financial advice, by the way.
It's pretty good. I like that.
I love it. That's great. Okay, we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep moving to the next topic here. Now, there are 365 people watching live. Smash that like button. Give this a share. Let's get even more people in here. And keep on dropping in those comments in the chat, because I'll try and bring them in. I did want to outline, what was it? Somebody, Chuck, I drive a 2005 Hyundai, and I call it my Bitcoin mobile. That is some low time preference, my friend. Keep on rocking it. I love it. We're going to jump to Sean. And Sean, I'm going to let you take it away. Let us know what has you feeling bullish this week.
Well, first I got to add, I've been driving my 2009 Dodge Ram truck since my senior year of high school until a month ago.
Yes.
So, and I have not replaced the heat or the AC that's been broken for the last year because I view everything opportunity cost. So yeah, I have to throw that in there. But yeah, for me, I've been, seeing this go around for a little, and the more I go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and just understand Bitcoin's principles, the more I get angry. This notion of Bitcoin being a Ponzi scheme, like I get angry. So like I'll try to control my emotions here, but I looked up the definition. I have it here. Like a Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investing scam which generates returns for earlier investors with money taken from later investors. And fiat is the Ponzi scheme. Like I instantly think of the bottom half of America, and let's not even talk about other countries where presumably over the next coming years, we'll see their currencies collapse. Again, people without investable assets continuing to operate their life at a loss. And finally, after being preached again and again to save, muster up some money left over from paying off student loan debt for oftentimes a worthless degree and try to do the right thing, they see the equity market during a global pandemic rise 25%. Like real estate skyrockets as well. So they continue to hold a continuously debased currency that's losing purchasing power over time. And going back to a Ponzi scheme, like why do we think who do we think benefits the most from all this stimulus? Like, did the stimulus trickle down to those that truly need it? And the worst part, the decisions that are made that operate this non-Ponzi fiat system are highly concentrated among a few individuals with power, and the top percent of those with monopolistic business operations. And quite frankly, I'm tired of that, right? Like, I think Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is egalitarian. Bitcoin is not concerned of our feelings, our selfishness, our wants, our ego, or factor in human nature of the many people that make decisions that more than likely benefit them. And it is non-discretionary. It does not discriminate, and it is resilient to any and all who try to censor it. So, and your inflation policies have no effect on Bitcoin's ability to remain sound and preserve your wealth that you sacrifice so much time, and energy to obtain. Ben, you said that before, right? At the time when Robert Breedlove explained this, it made me shift. It was a paradigm shift for how I viewed money, right? And like what it takes to obtain money and time and our energy. And for me, I think it's different, but it's modern day slavery. Like, does money make people happy? Well, it gives you the option to do what you like with your time. Creating wealth renders an individual freedom. So we sacrifice our skill sets, our time, our energy to be able to consume goods and services. And in this inflationary and centralized system, we now have to sacrifice more of our time and energy to receive the same amount of goods and services. They are systematically taking our time, and our time and individual sovereignty has been compromised. That is not freedom. And man, Bitcoin fucking fixes that. Like, I don't know. I'm on a rant, but I'm angry.
Preach, man.
Yeah, it's true.
Preach.
I think I want to point out somebody in the chat, and I want to do this because I think that people here, especially uninitiated kind of people, come in and they hear stuff like this and they don't understand where Bitcoiners are coming from in this. And so there's a guy named Greg in the chat, Greg Mitchell, and he's kind of scoffing at a handful of things here, like LOL, fiat is a Ponzi. But you got to think of what money represents, right? So money is literally just representative of all of the goods and services available in an economy, right? And whatever amount of money you have percentage wise can buy that percentage of goods and services that exist in that economy. If you create more money, there isn't more stuff. There isn't more goods. There's not more people to provide services. There's nothing more. There's just more units in aggregate covering that entire economy. So you got to think about the implications of creating more money. Well, and that depends who gets to create it, and that depends where it goes. If it's created across the board and distributed evenly based on who currently holds what money in the same percentage, then it's a zero-sum game. Nobody benefits and nobody is hurt by that. But if it's created in the way that it is right now, where a unelected group of people decide how much new money is created and then decide where it goes, then that shifts the percentage of spending power differently than where it currently exists. And I'll give you a clue, that percentage is not in favor of the lowest income individuals. It's not going to benefit them. And we can prove this by looking at the continued growth in the wealth gap between the lowest and the highest earners in the country. It is not being distributed in a way that is going to benefit the lowest income individuals. And beyond that, even if it were temporarily, just having that power, yielding that power, means you not only have to trust the current regime that is in charge of doing that, but you have to trust every single person that is elevated to that seat of power in perpetuity for all of the rest of time. And I don't know about you, but there's not a lot of people in charge that I trust with that level of power, and certainly not everybody from now on for the rest of time. And I think starting with a level playing field where if you cut out your piece of the pie, you just have that piece of the pie in percentage terms forever, is a far better system. So that's kind of where I'm at. But let's move it on down. Let's move it to David. Do you want to tag on to what Sean was saying there, or anything I mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, when you're analyzing different systems and trying to pick the system that's best for the future of humanity, you know, both Bitcoin and the fiat system both have a Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect of the fiat system is that we reward those that are most effective at getting close to power, those that are in the country club, those that graduate from the ivory towers and go on to the, you know, the institutions of power that touch the money that's printed first. The Cantillon effect in Bitcoin is one in which those that touch the Bitcoin first, aka the miners, who are competing completely fairly on who can generate power the cheapest, who can source hardware the cheapest, who can deploy the hardware, who can get the chips manufactured, who can get the silicon that they need, etc. These are engineers, these are scientists, these are builders. These are people who are pushing forward the hard sciences. And so when we consider the Cantillon effect that Bitcoin is going to bring to the world, it's going to bring an industrial revolution that's going to power new technologies that benefit all of humanity. So who do we want to be the beneficiaries of a Cantillon effect? Those that earned it by pushing humanity forward, or those that are just status seekers that were born into privilege and then leverage that privilege to enrich themselves at the cost of others? So
yeah,
there you go.
Man. I love it. And the other thing to note here is, unlike the current system, unlike the traditional financial system and the fiat system, just having Bitcoin, even if you got in early, just having Bitcoin does not guarantee you more Bitcoin. The way that you get more Bitcoin is by offering a good or a service that convinces somebody else to part with their sats and give them to you. And so it's just because you're rich doesn't mean you're going to get richer. In fact, most early Bitcoiners that were lucky enough to see the writing on the wall and get into Bitcoin early would never be able to buy the amount of Bitcoin that they currently hold, and likely are not going to be able to hold on to that amount of Bitcoin for their lifetimes. If they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor, they will gradually have to spend it, and you will start to see it kind of siphon out amongst the economy. But I know that people are trying to hold on as tight as they can as we go through this monetization process. But Katie, I'm going to pass it to you. I'm talking too much.
No, definitely not too much. Applause for your rant, for sure. Well, I'm in a little unique position here because I'm living in the US right now, but I'm coming from a post-communist country. And one thing that I want to mention here is, yes, right now our interests are being represented by our government. And then on top of it, there is a second layer where all those governments try to compete between each other, but not for your interest, but for their own interest. And now your interest is being represented by somebody who you did not choose, by the way, you were just born under it. And like the incentives are already wrong. And then on top of it, there's a second layer of incentives that are already wrong. And it's just so bad. And it's so much better when you have a full control over your asset that is not separated by imaginary borders. There is no like this whole political game going on between the different currencies. and it feels so much better. Like I'm in control. I know my future. I know what my life is gonna be like because I'm not playing all those stupid games, and I represent my own interests. There is no proxy here, and yeah, that's what we should do, all of us.
I love that. Great, Dylan. Do you have anything you'd like to add on to the conversation here?
Yeah, I think you guys have all nailed it. I mean, central banking and fiat is like weaponized time theft, you know, and it's leading to a lot of like moral decay across this, you know, our world, our society, and just like a sound monetary standard, especially Bitcoin perfected digital scarcity with proof of work, with the difficulty adjustment. It's something that we never even seen before. Even like gold is the closest thing, and even then, you know, like Bitcoin is this kind of like insulated or like, you know, I guess like closed loop monetary system. There's a programmatic supply issuance, and then after that, it's all proof of work, and that's what our society needs. We've had it, like our society's overrun with bureaucrats and politicians that are basically just rent seeking, like the decree of fiat. Like I think it's hard to see, but once you see, you can't unsee. Once your eyes are open to, like, when the money's broken, the coordination function of society is broken, and everything is broken with it. So fix the money, fix the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
100%. I love that. And every piece of, to relate back to a previous topic, every piece of FUD, every pushback that people seem to put in Bitcoiners' faces, quite literally, Bitcoin fixes all of those problems that they think it's causing. It's really astounding to say people saying things like, "Oh, this is ruining the planet. People, you know, bad people are going to use this. It's a Ponzi scheme." When quite literally, it's the opposite of all those things. It actually fixes all of those things. But I digress. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Great thoughts on all of that, Sean. Killer topic. There are 370 people watching live. Smash that like button, give this a share, and we're gonna jump to David. Dude, what has you feeling bullish this week? Take us on a ride.
Yeah, so this will give me an opportunity to shill the conference too. But you know, first off, I'm gonna say it's been awesome watching 50 million people in America and all of Twitter become completely absorbed and obsessed watching the price of Bitcoin crater, and they go through this experience together. It's actually kind of a cool thing to watch. I mean, Twitter, every trending topic was related to the price crash. And it's just, you know, not only is Bitcoin a black hole of value, it's a black hole of people's attention. So, you know, to that point, you know, us working on the conference, Bitcoin 2021 happen in, I guess, now 13 days from now. And even Sean being on this podcast right now, you know, I'm bullish on watching Bitcoin enter into the mainstream culture, and not going mainstream like becoming vanilla, but like actually orange pilling truly culture, and to see, you know, athletes and porn stars and actors and comedians, and I mean, you name it, like people who are cultural leaders within our society around the world are becoming part of the Bitcoin community. And so to just watch us go from, you know, when we were a 10 million person community to 100 million person community, it's been amazing to see like who is part of that community. It's really the coolest, most interesting people around the world. And if you want to party with the coolest, most interesting people, you're going to just move. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with a bunch of pasty old white people who live in the country clubs who all like sniff each other's butts. So it's been awesome to see that like front and center at the conference. We got Floyd Mayweather coming to the conference. You know, we have Diplo DJing. I mean, we have so many professional athletes, so many people that have Paris Hilton, 20 million person Twitter following. It's so cool to see other people be the standard bearers for Bitcoin, for freedom, for liberty, for everything that this movement stands for. And it's only going to get bigger, and it's only going to get crazier. And you know, the next time we have a 50% crash, it's probably going to be 500 million people going along with that experience at the same time. So it's cool to see this new community evolve that is across all socioeconomic classes. It's bipartisan. It's doesn't care what gender you are, what age you are, what country you live in, what race you are. It is purely based on ideas. It is global, and it is happening in front of everyone's eyes much faster than they can understand. So that's what I'm fucking bullish about.
I love it. Katie, what do you think about what David's saying? First of all, will I may see you in Miami, I think.
I'm already in Miami. I'm waiting for y'all. It's absolutely amazing here. Come down and enjoy this beautiful place.
I get there on the 2nd in the evening at some point, so I'm very excited. But I
bought tickets to your event, Katie.
Hell yeah! Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, so exciting. And to David's topics here, again, it is growing, and it's Bitcoin is starting to live rent free in everybody's brains. Have you seen changes in the community of people that come to you and talk about what you do? What kind of shifts have you noticed in this past year?
Is it a question to me or David?
Oh yeah, to you, Katie.
Okay, my circle is definitely Bitcoin only at this point. There's no people left that are orange pilled. And if I meet some new people that I think that capable of understanding that, I show it right away. And I think at this point, I'm pretty good at showing that people like actually listen, did not take it as a Ponzi. They've heard it all over the internet and all over the media. So they're like, okay, she will actually tell me something that I don't know, and she will actually show me how to download the app. So today, I helped my hairdresser and the girl, the administrator of a salon, to get Blue Wallet. I sent them both $10, and they're like, "Oh my god, I finally figured out Bitcoin! Like I never knew it was that easy." So people are ready to be orange peel these days. Like they've been struggling for a while now, trying to figure out what's going on in the world, and they are looking for better solutions. They're looking for alternatives. They're ready to learn, and that's the community that I've seen. I've seen around me here in Miami. Now through my business, like it's all Bitcoiners at this point. There is no fiat millionaires coming to buy passwords anymore. It's all Bitcoiners for sure. Yeah. So I'm definitely enjoying every consultancy call I'm getting. Because I'm vibing with my client right away, and they know what they're coming for. Like that's my value proposition compared to any other agent on the market. Like I get it. I know your problem. I know your pain points, and I know your passion. So we jump on a consultancy call. We vibe all over. I don't know their names. We just like, yeah, this is this Twitter handle account that I'm gonna help buy password. That's super cool. So I'm definitely enjoying that.
It's really cool that you're, and I'm sure you've read it. You're kind of helping the sovereign individual play out. You are one of the cogs in that machine that is helping jurisdictional arbitrage play out globally with this new global money that we have.
Yeah, that's definitely my Bible. I absolutely love this book. I hosted the webinar a couple of weeks ago, and prior to the webinar, I was like, I want to get into this vibe of like renting like a sovereign individual. So I went back and I've read a couple of chapters all over again. I just love this book. That's absolutely beautiful. It gives me exactly the mindset that like I love to have, and the right vibe. And like through my experience, I also moved over borders quite a lot in the last 10 years. And like, I've seen that playing out in my life before I read Sovereign Individual, before I knew about like what is jurisdictional arbitrage and what's the concept and how to play the right.
Oh, I think she cut a little bit. That's not just me, right? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
no.
That's all right. Well, Katie, I think I if you can hear me, you cut a little bit, but we're gonna move down the line. Anyways, if she comes back in or something, then I'll have her finish up her thought. But Dylan, do you want to add anything to what Katie was talking about, what David was talking about in terms of kind of the growth of Bitcoin, the numbers of people coming in, the coverage that it's getting?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome to see it become like a cultural phenomenon. Oh, Katie hopping back in. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think just like in terms of like what Sean's doing, like Russell Okung, like athletes that are like, hey, I want something that respects my time, you know? Just like seeing it, but like the laser eyes. I mean, now that was the local top, funny enough, but just seeing it kind of become like a cultural phenomenon, and like, you know, like there are still many shit coins, and that like won't die away for probably time. Seeing more and more people figure it out, and like people that figure it out are never going to go back to fiat. You know? Like, I'm never going to take my salary. I'm never gonna save dollars for my future self besides like, you know, short-term liabilities and expenses or whatever. Like, I'm not going back. And so many, like millions and upon millions of people are all figuring this out. And, you know, in the digital age, it spreads like wildfire. So it's awesome to.
Yeah, 100%. And Sean, how about you? How have you noticed a change in your circles and people around you starting to notice Bitcoin and interact with it over this past year? Have you a notable difference or trickling in or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Dylan just said too, like in the digital age, it spreads like wildfire. So I think just the way information is disseminated now is just becoming less frictionless, right? So it's, before it was just controlled, I think, by certain news outlets, right? And they kind of you control the information, you control the narrative, you control our thoughts in a way, right? Like, why would we think something else can be out there if we don't know? And you know, I think with Twitter and other social media platforms and podcasts, the information is out there. If the market forces deem it valuable, it will increase adoption, right? And people will either decide to think for themselves, right? Hey, I want to buy into this. And like you said, once you do, you don't go back. And I see that happening. I see technological advancements. I see previous systems. I'm making a bet that this is the new system, right? Like, we are going to a new system. I think we are going to a digitized financial system. Everything will be digitized. The coinization, if that's even a world of assets, like the future is crypto. I believe it's Bitcoin. And I think we'll see that very rapidly over the next decade. And the way I see it, my traditional portfolio of stocks, fixed income, and cash is the hedge. Bitcoin is no longer the hedge in my eyes.
Yeah.
Hey, John, how many of your teammates are stacking sats? How many people have you been hearing from the NFL? Because I feel like for the conference, we probably have 15 plus NFL players that are attending. So I'm curious to hear what you're hearing.
Yeah, no, privately, I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of people asking, because before I started to just talk about it, you know, publicly on Twitter, and people would just curious, right? Like their intellect is just wanting to know and be told, right? Like, what, like, why do you think this? And whether or not people understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, they're experiencing asset inflation, right? They're seeing the barriers of entries rise within the real estate and equity markets, and they don't want their capital debased away through monetary systems, and they're wanting to see other options than fiat. And I think that's another question, right? It's like, what other asset class right now do we trust in this environment? Like, what's offering real yields that are positive? Do we trust the valuations in the equity market or the real estate market? What does the future look like? And I think a lot of people, regardless how you view Bitcoin, are wondering the same thing, and how to place and allocate capital. And for me, I think all solutions point towards Bitcoin, but athletes are curious, man. It's shifting too. Like, before, compared, like, just the narrative of Bitcoin, right? Oh, that's what, like, money laundering. That's so bad. Like, all the drug deals go on the blockchain, right? Like, and now it's shifting to, oh, super risky, right? Super speculative. Like, that's crazy. And now it's like, oh, store of value, digital gold. Maybe it's not a currency now, but long term, maybe it could be. And it's shifting in the right direction year after year. And now it's like, okay, how do we buy some? What exchange do you use, right? It's like people are wanting to get it in their portfolio. I think it's going to shift to getting percentages, whether it's 100% like me, maybe not, but shifting the percentages of their salary to Bitcoin. And I think that's only going to continue, bro. And then I'm wondering when NFL teams will put it on their balance sheet and physically get paid Bitcoin, and how that makes tax. Like, that's a whole other story, right? That's not here. That's not right now, but it's going there, I believe.
I can see that it's definitely, those conversations have started. I mean, we've been talking to 2 NFL teams right now along these lines, so it's not far away. I think it's this cycle.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So this is now that you're talking about balance sheets and everything, interesting, given Mayor of Miami talking about that. We're starting to see, it's interesting, the progression, because we've seen individuals, high net worth individuals, companies, and now we're starting to see small level, like low level government start to dabble in this, and then potentially states
not
down the road.
Low level governments. I mean, Iran's a big government. Turkey is a big government. Venezuela is a big government, and they are actively are acquiring this stuff. So I mean, it's and like, you know, even in the state of Florida, like, it's not just the mayor, it's not just now the county. It's literally in the governor's office. It's with the CFO at the state of Florida. That, you know, it's at the, like, you're going to see state treasuries be making announcements. I mean, these conversations are actively happening right now with vendors. So
that's amazing. Well, I'm glad that Katie made it back, because it's her turn. She gets to tell us why she's feeling bullish, and I'm excited to hear your topic. That was a great riff on all that as well. But Katie, the floor is yours. I'm glad that you were able to connect back.
I appreciate it. Sorry for the technical problems. My reason for bullishness today is Bitcoiner stability and balance. So, you know, we've been discussing how the world been going to shit over the last 18 months or so. So for many people, it seems like there's nothing stable in their life. So people losing jobs, the currencies are being printed all over. Other nations' currencies are going down. The president's changing. The rules are changing. The plans are changing. Well, they can't actually come up with plans because everything is so unstable. And perhaps all that, my life has never been more stable. Like, I have perfect routine, I have perfect lifestyle, my health, my mental state, my friend circle, my family, all that super stable. And in a conversation with another toxic lady, we discussed how we both are like less on Twitter these days. And she mentioned the super cute things that I actually want to quote. She said, yes, Bitcoin is the core of my life, solid base layer, but it's time to build other layers on top of it. And, you know, it really resonated with me how now we take Bitcoin as like, okay, we figured that out. Like, that's going to stick with us, with our generation, with our kids, with our grandkids. And when you have this base layer, the rest will kind of be built as solid as it is. And, you know, like this dip, you could see a lot of shitcoiners be like flipping tables, crying, and not being ready for that. While the Bitcoin community was like, yeah, I keep stacking, nothing new, nothing to see here. Like, we did not freak out. We did not lose our shit. We know what we're doing. We know what we're here for. The conviction is 100%. There's nothing to be unsure about. Like, we're so sure about this base layer of our life that is Bitcoin. And I think that's super bullish. And I'm bullish on our lives and all of you and Bitcoin, obviously.
I love that. I love the concept of Bitcoin as a base layer for building good habits and lifestyles. I'm curious if some of the panel can echo that and maybe talk about how Bitcoin has kind of changed their thoughts on different aspects of life. Maybe I'll jump up to Dylan first. You know, how has Bitcoin changed how you think about other aspects of life, changed your mannerisms, your routines?
Yeah, I think Sean said it earlier. Just evaluating Bitcoin as the opportunity cost of everything. So like a year ago, or maybe a little more than a year ago, I was in school. I was in business school, freshman year at college. And it was, I mean, college is a great time. Social scene is awesome. Learned a little bit, but just when it clicked for me, the opportunity cost of everything is Bitcoin. It didn't make sense, so I dropped out. And like worked a construction job for like 6 months. Landed a job at Bitcoin Magazine, but when you measure your opportunity cost in Bitcoin, going to school and 5 figures in debt, or just really anything, like whatever you're doing, you respect your time, you respect your energy. Like, yeah, like I have a decade plus long time horizon, like, you know, and so I'll happily eat dirt now and forgo just like stupid consumption, or, you know, like Supreme bags or whatever. Like the cool thing is today, like I just stack sats, you know, and so I think everybody has that realization, or will, and it's pretty, I don't know, it's life changing for sure, because it gives me clarity. I think most, you know, everyone here agrees.
How about you, Sean? How have you changed with Bitcoin? It sounds like you were kind of on that track already, and Bitcoin lined up with it, but you let me know.
Yeah, I think first, just as an athlete, like my day-to-day decisions, how I operate mentally, like I always just try to optimize in every situation. Just do the rational choice, do what's best for my body, and what will lead to being at my best on the field. And when you start thinking again, like time, money, what's needed to get paid in fiat, it's like, well, if I want to be optimal in every avenue of my life, fiat can't be in there. Like that, they don't mix. So Bitcoin I saw as a solution. And as you said, Katie, too, like when you say it's a first layer, just base layer, like Michael Saylor says it all the time, right? Like Bitcoin is hope. You know, we can all explain why with like hundreds of different analogies and reasons, but we'll leave it at that, right? It's hope. And for me, it allows me to optimize every decision that I make. And it feels nice to financially optimize. And I do that through Bitcoin.
I love that. How about you, David? How has Bitcoin changed your outlook on life in general? Changed your mannerisms and your routines and your thoughts?
So after a decade of Bitcoin, my mind is basically mush. And you know, at this point, I've extracted so many observations from how Bitcoin works and applied that to, I guess, society, to humanity, to life, that I'm in the process of developing my own philosophy. I call it team life. And so, you know, I really believe that Bitcoin is not a technology that we invented. It was discovered, and it is an extension of an underlying force in the universe. It is entropy. It's an entropy machine. And that it is an extension of humanity, and that it is absolutely essential for the development of humanity, and that our role as participants in the system that we call existence is to spread life to every far-flung corner of the universe, on every planet, on every galaxy. We need to have trillions, hundreds of trillions of humans throughout the solar system. And, you know, it really has driven me to reevaluate what my priorities are in life in terms of what matters to me, and what the point of living is. And so, you know, I hope I have my second child on the way. You know, I hope to have an army of children, as many children as I can financially afford to have, and that my wife is willing to deal with. You know, I really think this is it's so much deeper than just people. I think we've been so detached from what money is for so long that we don't understand how essential of a resource it is for the coordination of humans, and like the potential that humans have as a species. And so I'm unbelievably bullish on the future of humanity, and I think that is intertwined at the very core with Bitcoin. So yeah, that it is hope. 100% it's hope. And I also, not to dwell, but like Bitcoiners are actually at this point in time the the standard bearers, the living embodiment of what it means to be free and sovereign, and they are treading a path for the world to follow behind. And whether it's like this conference we're doing in Miami being the largest in-person conference or event in the world, I think, in the month of June. And like that treading the path of Bitcoiners not being afraid of lockdowns, not being afraid of pandemics. Whether it's Bitcoiners standing up to Elon, whether it's Bitcoiners standing up to the government or standing up, to whoever. It's like we are showing people that there is another path forward other than serfdom. That there's nothing to be feared of the unknown, that there's nothing to be feared from the uncertain, that our future is bright. And like without Bitcoin, none of that is true. Like it's people truly would be hopeless. So yeah.
It's true. Bitcoin definitely it does give hope. Like through the past year and a half, all of my quote unquote normie friends have been super depressed. All of my Bitcoiner friends have been so optimistic about the future because they see a fix to all of the problems. They literally see that Bitcoin fixes most of what's wrong with the world right now in so many different ways. And I mean, even on a personal note, having kind of Bitcoin as, again, as Katie was saying, her friend was saying, as my base layer, it does move your life decisions in a different way. You're not thinking of the instant idiotic consumption of just crap. You're thinking, well, where do I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? How do I want to build my family? What am I actually doing with my time? How am I treating my body? What will generations from now look back at this time and think of what I did to help my family into the future? Bitcoiners are kind of setting their eyes to the horizon and actively building dynasties for future generations to enjoy. And that's an exciting thing.
There's a documentary by this person named Adam Curtis. I think it's called Hypernormalization. And it part of the documentary is focused on the collapse of the Soviet Union and what it was like directly before the collapse. And, it kind of delivered home the point that people lost the ability to dream of an alternative that's different than the reality that they were living. That when you live in a fiat system where you're barely getting by day to day, you lose the ability to imagine an alternative system in which your life is bettering. And, with Bitcoin is for dreamers. Like Bitcoin is for the people, like it inspires you to think about what things could be and to set an optimistic vision for the future rather than to constantly be in this mode of survival where it's like, what does it matter what the future is, because I don't know how I'm going to make it to the end of next week. So I think Bitcoin is for the dreamers, man. It's being built by the dreamers.
Yeah, think of the ease of the weight off people's shoulders when they no longer have to. It's hard to think long term when you can barely scrape by with your bills on a weekly basis. Think of the freedom afforded to people that can actually just save their money and get really good at whatever they're good at, earn their money over time, and not have to gamble just in the hopes of making it through retirement. I think it's an incredible thing and an incredible leap forward for humanity. So I love this topic. So Katie, thank you for bringing this up. I guess we're going to start rounding it out here. This has been a great conversation. Thank you guys all for joining me. What I'm going to do before we start fully wrapping this is I'm going to go down the line and just get any final thoughts from each of you, and also where people can find you. So Twitter, whatever you're working on, just let people know. So let's start it with Dylan. Dude, let people know where they can find you, what you're doing, and any final thoughts.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BTCization. I work for Bitcoin Magazine. doing some writing there and some research. Final words. Yeah, I just say buy the dip. You know, next couple cycles, people are gonna you know, say if you got in at 35,000 that you were early, that you were lucky. Like, treasure this, relish it, because it won't last. And you know, keep the long game in mind. Bitcoin is generational wealth, and you know, it's not a zero-sum game. Like, every single person that converts their monetary operating system to the Bitcoin network benefits us all. And Bitcoin is freedom money, you know, so it's much bigger than just a financial game.
Beautiful. Sean, how about you? Let people know where they can find you, and any final thoughts.
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter at Culkin22. And like David's saying, like, I think that's the one thing I tried to make known to people I talk Bitcoin is it's for the dreamers, right? Like, I think some people think, oh, in a world where Bitcoin does what we all think it will happen, like the world will be terrible, right? And it's like, that's not the case, right? They can continue to grow in that direction and still both coincide. And we're extremely optimistic. David, you said you're incredibly bullish, and I thought, okay, incredibly bullish, irresponsibly long. That's my last statements.
Perfect.
And that is
Katie.
Yes.
Katie, how about you? Where can people find you, and any final thoughts?
My final thought would be discipline is freedom. So it's within you. And if you're looking for the way to opt out and find the amount of freedom you desire, it's all within. Find the discipline and find the freedom. And I'm Katie the Russian, and I sell passports at Katie the Russian on Twitter.
Beautiful. By the way, all the Twitter accounts are linked in the show notes, so be sure to check them out. But David, any final thoughts? And then once again, where can people find you?
Yeah, they can find me at Bitcoin Magazine, or they can find me in Miami at the Bitcoin Conference. I can't wait to see everyone there in person. It's going to be fucking awesome. We have so many surprises. We have some unannounced speakers that I think are going to melt people's minds. You know what? I'll break some news because I know the contract's signed. We haven't announced this, but Ron Paul, the founder of Freedom, is going to be opening up the conference for us on June 4th. You heard it here first. So fucking go. And hyper Bitcoinization or bust, like 100% adoption, 100% penetration. All transactions that happen in the world need to happen on top of Bitcoin. Anything short of that, we haven't done our job. So join us in this coalition. Let's fucking make this happen.
I love it. What a bam. That was a mic drop moment. Guys, thank you all for being here. This was awesome. I'm going to cut your audio and video and just to kind of do my goodbye to everybody. But if you want to stick around for a minute and say goodbye after we go offline, then I will still be here. So I'll see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody else that is watching, also, thanks for being here. Thank you for being in the chat, dropping all of your messages. I love this part of my week. It's always the best part of the week is the WAB panels and just chatting about what we're excited about, which is the massive shift to a sound global money that we are experiencing in real time. So excited. If you're going to be in Miami, I'll be seeing you there. There'll be one more WAB panel before we go to Miami. Maybe I can get a live WAB going. We'll see. We'll see what I can throw together. Anyways, guys, smash that like button, like, subscribe, share, all of those things, as always, help so much. They help get more eyeballs on the show, and that's always a good thing. If you want to help with the show in another way, you can always hit the sponsors I mentioned before, LEDN, Bitrefill, and BillFodl, all linked down below. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. That is tippin.me/@BTC Sessions. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. See you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.